Good.
Biggest shot of this match by far.
Beautiful hitting there.
Hello, welcome to a Tennis Channel special, Indian Wells Classics. I'm Brian Weber. Many times to become a champion, an aspiring player must overcome an especially challenging rival. For Roger Federer, that obstacle was one of the most tenacious players of recent times, Lleyton Hewitt. They had been competing against each other since the early teens as pros. Hewitt held the early edge, winning 7 of the first 9 matches through the end of 2003. So naturally, there was significant intrigue when these two met just over a year later in the 2005 Indian Wells final. Federer was ranked #1 in the world at the end of 2004, the first time he reached the pinnacle of our sport. But Hewitt was not too far behind, finishing 2004 ranked #3 in the world. We take you now to 2005 Indian Wells final between Roger Federer and Lleyton Hewitt.
Rather nice that they should arrive. So an honour guard of ball boys and ball girls holding the flags of all the nations represented in this great event. Built up by Charlie Passerelle and Raymond Moore, business partners and former players both. We've just been talking about the refinancing of the debt for this event, the debt to build this magnificent arena and complex, the Indian Wells Tennis Garden in the Californian desert. It's a real oasis and very much one of the favourite tournaments for the players.
Oh, they love it because a lot of them have come from the European indoor season or from Davis Cup ties all over the globe. And then to get out here a few days before the tournament actually starts, to be able to practice in the sunshine, enjoy the surroundings of the mountains, it's really fantastic. And of course, it's a prelude to Miami as well, so there's a couple of Masters Series events in North America at this time of the year, and really this is when I think you start to see the best players in the world really start to find some form.
Well, you do, and I think the form of Hewitt has been terrific. The last graph will conduct the same.
So, 6 balls, 7 to 9. We have best of 5 sets today, all tie break. And use the machine to call it. You guys have any questions? After the toss, they want some pictures also. That's the place. That's good.
Heads calls Federer.
Tails. Stay there. Yeah,
it's tails, so Hewitt won the toss and said that he would be the server. Well, that's not unexpected, and I think he did that yesterday.
And it's the right play. I think you don't want to give Federer a 1-game-to-love lead, because suddenly if you find yourself a breakdown, you've got a mountain to climb. So I think it's a positive statement of intent.
So here we are, the last match of the week, the final between the world's numbers 1 and 2, Roger Federer of Switzerland, Lleyton Hewitt of Australia. And a perfect day. The playing conditions could not be better. The wind has abated. We had problems with wind earlier in the week, and that really disturbed the players. Everybody hated it, but it's good today.
And it's been a little cooler as well this year than the players have expected, but today I think is the first gorgeous day we've got. There's a little bit of cloud in the sky, so they won't have to worry too much about the blue skies as a backdrop, and I think the temperature down there on court is absolutely perfect.
Well, let's look in a little more detail at these two men. First, the world #1, 23-year-old Roger Federer, turned pro in 1998 with 25 singles titles to his name, 4 Grand Slams. Wimbledon started the run in 2003, and then last year the Australian, Wimbledon and the US Open. This year he's already won tournaments in Doha, Rotterdam and Dubai, and here at Indian Wells in another final.
Well, he's always been a precocious talent, there's no doubt about that, but it took him a while really when he started playing professionally to really fulfill that potential. 2002 was the first year, and he managed to capture a Masters Series title. That was in Hamburg, where he defeated Marat Safin. And then, of course, 2003 was really a breakthrough to the upper echelons of the game when he was Wimbledon champion, beating Mark Philippoussis in the final. And 2004 and 2005 have been wonderful years. 3 more Grand Slam titles have come and gone, and he's undoubtedly the best player in the world. Well, as well as that tournament that he won in Hamburg in 2002, he was a victor in Indian Wells a couple of years later, and he was also a winner in Hamburg last year, as well as in Toronto over Andy Roddick in very similar conditions to these. And he's also been able to win back-to-back Tennis Masters Cup titles in Houston as well. So his progress to the top of the game has been very, very impressive indeed over the last 18 months. Well, in terms of this event, he didn't play particularly well in any of those matches, really. He was pushed in the 4th round against Ljubicic, won 6-6. But in all of the matches, really, he's done enough when he's needed to most. Against Kiefer, got off to a poor start. The German broke him to love in the opening game and actually broke him twice in that first set. But again, Federer was able to find the clutch, come back, win the set, and comfortably win the match thereafter. And in the semi-finals yesterday, even though the first set was a little sticky in patches for him, he only dropped 4 games in total. So he said that he's very pleased with the way he's hitting the ball, and he's coming into this final as confident as he possibly could, which is saying something.
And of course, he is the reigning champion, Mr. Federer. He won't give up his title easily, but here's the man who wants to take it. 24-year-old Lleyton Hewitt, who turned pro in '98, winning his first event there in his home city of Adelaide when he was just 16, among those 24 singles titles, including, of course, the US Open of '01 and Wimbledon a year later. 18-2 this year, got to the final of the Australian Open, but was outplayed by Safin there. It's been a marvellous performance this week, and he is right at the top of his form, and in his 3rd final, he was twice the champion here.
Well, he certainly was, and I think he likes playing here. His results here are better than any other of the Masters Series events. And it's interesting that he's just a year older than Federer, because he peaked just a little bit sooner than the Swiss by becoming the #1 in the world in 2001 and 2002. Both those years he was victorious at the year-end Tennis Masters Cup, first in Sydney and then in Shanghai. And in Shanghai he actually beat Federer 7-5 in the 3rd in the semi-finals in a wonderful encounter. Well, those are the 2 titles that he's won here in Indian Wells, and the 2 Tennis Masters Cup titles. And of course his record is relatively good here with the 2 championships. He'd dearly love to add a 3rd in 4 years. I think the ball does travel through the air a little quicker, and the fact that they're playing a best-of-5 set match here as opposed to a best-of-3 set match unfortunately favours Federer, because it's very, very difficult to get the better of the best player in the contest if you're playing a longer match as opposed to a shorter one. Well, I think his form was excellent at the start of the week. Beat Robbie Ginepri in straights, as well as Michel Lodre from France, the left-hander, who gave him a few problems in that 2nd set, but then just dropping a single game in the 4th round against the Frenchman Paul-Henri Mathieu. And then, of course, he was a little fortunate. Agassi had a swollen toe. Everybody was looking forward to that match. It was going to be one of the best of the week, I'm sure. And Agassi was unable to take to the court. So fortunate there, because he was taken the distance last night by Roddick, winning 7-6 in the 3rd. It was a high-quality encounter. Roddick felt after the match that he played the best he could. He said he didn't feel that bad about losing, because he felt Hewitt played the big points better, but he's certainly going to need to do that again today.
Ladies and gentlemen, this final round match will be the best of 5 tie-break sets. Lleyton Hewitt won the toss, choose to serve.
Well, there are their head-to-head meetings. Federer leads 8-7, but he has won, as you heard, the last 6, all of them in 2004. What a psychological barrier then that is for Lleyton Hewitt. A high hurdle to cross today if he's going to do it. And that last meeting was as decisive as the score suggests, 6-3, 6-2. That was the 2nd time they played, of course, that week, because they'd already met in the round-robin section of the Masters Cup. So a comprehensive win on the last 3 meetings is not the sort of thing you want to have going into a final. But Lars Graf is in the chair, our Swedish umpire. And that is the trophy in the front of your picture there that they're playing for, the Pacific Life Open Trophy here at Indian Wells. Almost ready then for the off.
First set, Lleyton Hewitt to serve.
He won the toss.
Ready, play.
So here we go.
15 love.
Well, the first question for you, what difference will the best...
Well, I think the longer the encounter, the more it favours the better player, because there's less chance of causing an upset. So I think this being best of 5-set matches in the world's number one's favour.
Well, I go back to that US Open first set, 6-love to Federer. The remarkable thing about it was that Hewitt here was playing really quite well. And I think probably like me, as I watched it, I couldn't really believe how it was that Hewitt failed to win a single game.
Well, Federer is such a complete player that if he's playing well, Roger Rashid in the back of your picture there with the black cap on, Hewitt's coach, will know that there's very little he can do. If Federer is on song, Hewitt will get steamrolled. It's as simple as that. The Australian's got to hope is that Federer has a little bit of an off day and that Hewitt's at the very top of his game. Got to get the balance right today. Hewitt in doing enough from the back of the court to dictate, put Federer under pressure, but not do too much that his unforced error count gets a little high. Just got a little fortunate there, Federer, on the second volley, didn't quite time it right, and as a consequence, he dropped short. And Hewitt there couldn't really do much more than just put the ball back in play, and thereafter it was always going to be a struggle to win the point.
Game, Federer.
Well, that is a cruel blow to Hewitt, who chose to serve, remember?
First game.
To lose your serve in the opening game, and the memories of those last 3 meetings fresh in his mind. Not a happy camper at all.
Well, especially given the fact that Federer didn't really earn the game. Hewitt made 3 unforced errors. It's very uncharacteristic. He would only hope to keep that unforced error count in single figures in the whole set, let alone the opening game.
Well, there's Mirka, or more properly Miroslava Varinik, who is Federer's girlfriend and business manager. And I think that's been a very good relationship. He played the whole of last year without a coach, decided to ask Tony Roach to help him occasionally during this year, the first time in Australia. But I think with Mirka there doing all the sort of chores, if I can put it that way, all the bookings and the rest of it, makes life easy. Well, Liz, as you were saying, he gets better and better. In finals, he is supreme. He's won his last 16 finals of tournaments. That stretches back into last year, of course. And the year before.
Last 13.
Well, he's human.
Well, it's a very underrated part of Federer's game is his serve. Such a great deal of kick on that particular ball, really bouncing up off the court, forcing Hewitt to mistime it.
Left. Second service. Third charge.
Well, again, it's cheap. 15-30. Once Hewitt got himself into the rally, he would have been fully expecting to do a little bit better than that. More like it. Hewitt playing very aggressively there, and the tactic was a good one to go back behind Federer. We've seen a few players have problems with their feet this week. Court surface is a little coarse, and on occasion you can lose your footing.
So a break point now for Hewitt.
Left.
Just hold up while the ball is collected at the far end, thrown back by a spectator.
Cheers.
The times he does that, when he's in trouble, the big first serve to the rescue.
It's a sign of a great champion. Doesn't serve that many aces, nowhere near the number that someone like Roddick will, but they're very effective.
Advantage, Federer.
Federer going desperately close to the line, and Hewitt hopefully looking towards the linesman of that side, wanting a call, but it was in.
Game, Federer.
Well, Hewitt had chances in both games, ahead in both, he's lost both.
Certainly making life an awful lot more difficult for himself. Federer is his front runner, particularly in the latter stages of events.
Love 15.
And this is difficulty for Hewitt. If he wants to try and change things up and come into the net, Federer loves the target as well. He can generate so much spin on the ball and create unbelievable angles. It's going to make life very, very difficult for the Australian.
And I think the only way of trying to do something is to be aggressive and attack. I mean, I don't think if he's just going to stay at the back and loop the ball up, it's going to work, because Federer will just bide his time and come in himself. So I think you've got to try and take the first action, create your own momentum. No, good lob.
Well, we know Hewitt possesses an excellent topspin lob, both off the forehand and the backhand, but I was very surprised here Federer didn't do more with this high forehand volley. Perhaps a little bit surprised that Hewitt didn't put him under a little bit more pressure.
14-13.
Now, game point. First serve needed. Roger Rashid crossing his fingers, I'm sure.
Game, Hewitt.
What a relief. At last, getting on the board.
Federer leads 2-1.
Just one break behind. It's 2-1 for Federer.
Please, quickly, please, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
6 years ago, and so Federer was only 17 then. I think that's why Hewitt was probably having the ascendancy in their early meetings. He won 4 of their first 5 meetings, but lately it's been all Federer, and it's that mental hurdle that Hewitt now has to overcome.
$15.
And while they both improved since those early days, I think this man has improved more.
Net. $30.
And I also think that winning Wimbledon for Federer in 2003 was such a big day, and since then he's just been so much more confident in his own ability, and he's just become a supreme competitor.
Net.
Yes, and I think the sort of signs were there the year he beat Sampras, who was supreme at Wimbledon, really, for so much of his career. He beat him and then lost to Hemman in the quarters, but I think that told us that one day he might win it, and of course he did. And the other thing, I think, is that in his mind, that is his goal each year now. I mean, he said earlier this week here that his main task, he thinks, is to retain that Wimbledon title.
Yeah, I think he'd like to do 2 things: win at the All England Club and also be #1 in the world at the end of the year. Very proud individual. Those are the 2 things I think closest to his heart.
It is a ragged start, this, really. I mean, unforced errors like that just don't happen with Hewitt normally. Must be a little bit intimidated, although he probably wouldn't admit it.
Game, Federer. Federer leads 3-1.
3-1, and a fairly easy ride on that service game. It's going to be difficult to see just what Hewitt is going to employ, what tactics he's going to employ to hurt this man.
That's the difficulty that every competitor faces when they come up against Roger Federer. I think first and foremost, you've got to really play to your strengths. For Hewitt, that means getting a lot of first serves in, making sure they're effective, being consistent from the back of the court, and then not being afraid to step up the court and take the ball on when the opportunity arises. The difficulty is if you play against Federer and you're just a little bit negative from the back of the court, you drop it short, then he is so quick to move the feet, get around, use the forehand, and he can go both ways on that occasion, obviously going inside out to good effect.
30-15.
First ace. A bit of mental insecurity, seems to me, of the errors we've seen from in that double fault. Not surprising.
Game.
That's
Hewitt.
more like it. He's been serving so well of late. An area of his game that's improved perhaps more than any other.
Federer leads 3 games to 2.
Second ace, and now 3-2 for Federer. The whale is going to fly over our heads here. Lovely trophy that is for the winner. And who knows, he'll be clutching it in the early stages of this best of 5 sets final. The holder of the title is in your picture. And he wants to put another of those trophies on the mantelpiece. He's got a break, 3-2.
15 love.
Well, Federer will mistime the odd shot because he takes relatively big swings at the ball, tries to generate an awful lot of spin, and therefore he does hit across the line of it.
Shanking a few himself today. It was Federer's idea to hold the event before this tournament started in aid of the tsunami appeal, and all the top 10 players turned out. It was a marvellous occasion and raised a lot of money for that charity. And I think the interesting thing about Federer is that he does have a social conscience. He said that he wants to make this a regular event for charity, and he also says that he wants to spend more time in South Africa, where his mum comes from, to further the cause of the foundation he's established there for underprivileged kids.
Game, Federer.
So he's a caring soul.
And he's a great guy. You know, I don't know anybody that doesn't think very highly of him, both in terms of his tennis playing ability and the type of person that he is.
So that's second ace, closing out the 6th game, getting ready for the new balls, which will come after the next game. He's always ready for that. So it will be Hewitt serving for the last game of these tennis balls. 2-4. See, that sort of miss worries me slightly. He never misses those.
Well, that's the pressure that Federer puts you under when you're playing against him. You know that your approach shot has to be absolutely perfect in order for you to have a chance to win the point, and that leads to a lot of unforced errors in a lot of cases.
15-13.
Looks as if Federer's got inside his head.
15-14.
3 horrible points in a row. Now, there's the thing. It doesn't often beat Federer for pace, but he did there.
Stung into action, I think, given the quality of the 3 previous points.
Well, no wonder he fired the ball out of his hand in disgust. That was an awful game. All the points Federer won were losers from the racket of Hewitt. So 2 breaks now, 5-2 for Federer. So the crowd's given a chance to stretch at the changes of ends, and it's a lovely, warm Californian day. Back to normal with the weather, because it wasn't normal earlier in the week when we also had lots of wind.
$15. 30 love.
Well, let's be charitable and say that probably it was last night's exertions that are partly responsible for Hewitt's poor start today. Look at the unforced errors there. Ah, dear, oh dear. Another miss hit and 3 set points.
Game, first set, Federer.
And an even easier set than it appeared it would be in the early stages when Hewitt was playing quite well. But 6-2 in just 28 minutes. Go Roger, well, he certainly started well, hasn't he? perfect first set, really, even though a few too many unforced errors from him. But we've had record crowds this week. Even up to last night, we had just 1,000 fewer than in the total
Hewitt to serve.
attendance of last year, including today. So with about 14,500 here this day, they will be ahead by something like 13,000 spectators on last year's figures. Very satisfactory affair. Very satisfactory statistic. Let's hope Hewitt can fire well in the second set.
That's a lot more like it. Nice shot selection here and perfect execution.
30 love.
First ball outmaneuvering Federer and then inside out short up the court in order to create a little bit of extra angle. Federer puts you under so much pressure. If you don't make the approach shot absolutely perfect in terms of length and direction, he just punishes you. Well, 3 forays to the net for the Australian in this opening service game. Perhaps a slight fine-tuning of the game plan at the beginning of this second set. Time will tell whether it's effective or not.
Yes, a slight look of anxiety on his face. Not surprised. And a great sigh of relief from Hewitt.
First game, second set.
As he sees the Federer error fly wide. It's, to me, the mental problem for Hewitt today that is the chief hurdle to overcome.
I agree with you, and I think what you've got to try and do in that situation is to focus on the process goals, concentrate on executing particular shots, particular patterns of play, and use building blocks within the match. Concentrate here perhaps on just holding serve first 2 or 3 times in this set, and at least force Federer to make a few mistakes under pressure.
15 love.
You've got to stay with him long enough to put the right amount of pressure on him for that to happen. If you give him leads, he's a supreme front runner, and you have very little chance.
Changes direction so well, doesn't he, in the middle of a rally, suddenly flashing a backhand down the line with topspin. That's not easy. It looks easy.
That's a shot I think he's improved more than any other perhaps in the last 18 months or so. The backhand did used to be a little fallible on occasion.
Yes, as soon as it gets to three-quarter court or half court, you can kiss the point goodbye.
And the length is so important against the world #1, and the height over the net there was okay, but it just dropped a little short. Not enough pace on the ball from Hewitt.
Game, Federer.
Dear. Swung so early on that one, you can't hit wide.
One game on.
Bit too eager to get onto the serve there. So a love service game makes it 1-all.
Love 18.
That is a dangerous serve, you know, against a man with a forehand as good as this, unless it really puts him under pressure wider than that.
Fifteen all. Left match. 30-15.
Undoubtedly Hewitt's favourite serves, the slider out wide to the deuce court and the one up the tee to the ad side.
Off. (40-13).
Just waited for the moment
Cheers.
and increased the pace ever so slightly into the forehand corner to open up the gap, and then woof into the backhand. Masterly.
Advantage, Federer.
He served one of those in the opening game of this set, but it didn't prevent him from holding. This time it's given Federer a break point. That third double fault. Well, you won't see many rallies better than that ever, anywhere.
Well, it was a battle of wills, wasn't it, from start to finish? And both players showing their incredible athleticism throughout the rally, which was 40-plus strokes. An amazing finish.
Cheers.
Well, truly wonderful improvisation, and that little thing, they could see how everybody else enjoyed it. All that just for 1 point. Back to deuce.
Well, that happens an awful lot of the time when you win an extremely long point. Very difficult when serving to get the heart rate down again.
Cheers.
Federer just getting too much out in front of the body in terms of his contact with the ball there.
Well, he deserved that, did Hewitt, for sheer tenacity in that long 45-stroke rally, which I think we'll all put down in our notebooks and remember forever. 2-1 for Hewitt.
Though Federer was the defending champion, Hewitt was very comfortable on these courts as well, having won back-to-back Indian Wells titles in 2002 and 2003. The exceptionally slow hard courts and desert air were a perfect fit for Hewitt's counter-punching game. In the semifinals, he'd shown once again, which made him such a stellar competitor, beating Andy Roddick in a third-set tiebreaker. Though Hewitt called that win a lucky door prize, everyone in tennis knew there was nothing lucky about Hewitt's exceptional ability to compete under pressure. Let's get you back now to the 2005 Indian Wells men's singles final between Roger Federer and Lleyton Hewitt.
Well, it was a standing ovation. That point fully deserved it too. And entertainers both, they will absolutely be thrilled to bits that they could both press each other so hard and produce such magic. No breaks yet. 1-2.
Hewitt doing the right thing, trying to get the lob up over the backhand side of Federer, but it's difficult when you go cross court because the player at the net, if they take a couple of steps to their left, can then obviously execute the smash a little easier.
See, these are the misses that are worrying. There's been so many of them today. Bread and butter shots. It's just too good.
Well, I think
bad approach, was it?
No, it was very reasonable, just a little short perhaps, but Federer hits this cross-court backhand so well. He gets had so much spin on the ball. It bounced inside the service box. It's so difficult to defend against. And of course, it's relatively high percentage.
Federer.
Another love
2 games off.
service game. He's won both to love in this set. And before he knows it, Hewitt is back serving again. And I'm sure that last night's long match has taken the edge off his game a little. Must have done. Body line often pays. Couldn't get out of the way of it. Bounced up nice and high.
Well, throughout the match so far, Federer's got the better of the longer rallies, which is worrying for Hewitt. It's his great strength, of course.
Now that's the area that he must concentrate on maintaining. 125, that's fast enough. And accurate enough, that's the point.
Hewitt.
Well, he's clinging on well and building block by block, as you suggested, Jason. That's a good effort so far. 3-2, Hewitt second set. Now, is that a mackerel sky? Something like it. Just the odd cloud floating across, but by and large a perfect day. Very high the clouds. I don't think there's any threat of rain, which had been threatened earlier in the week, for the weekend, but except for a little on Friday night, there hasn't been any. But it has been unseasonably cold. No breaks yet, 2-3. Start for Hewitt there, that error from Federer. First point he's lost on his serve this set. And at least in one respect, Hewitt is ahead of Federer at the moment. He's twice been the year-end #1, and only 7 men altogether have done that since the rankings began. if you're interested in these sort of statistics. The others were Pete Sampras, Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, Ivan Lendl, Bjorn Borg and Stefan Edberg. So he's in exalted company. Federer, of course, the reigning world #1, and he could add a second this year. Oh, that is so good.
Well, you'd almost have to say that there's an element of luck there, but he does it time and time again on that backhand side when he's under pressure. Just that subtle flick of the wrist, the contact with the ball out in front of the body to be able to get that cross court. It's an amazing shot.
Service percentage has gone way down. 46% for the match.
.30.
Wonderful versatility there from Federer.
Well, these were both extremely difficult backhand volleys because he's got the wind at his back there, so it's not easy to control the ball, but he got that one back to a good length, and then under extreme pressure there managed to get that ball also back past the service line and was in an excellent position for the third and final forehand volley.
Love. 30 love. .30-15.
Well, that's the shot really which is very difficult to defend against. When you feel you've put the ball back cross court and you're expecting the opponent to play defensively and then they change direction on the ball. It can be very difficult to read, but Hewitt's got to keep a better length than that, just dropping that one ever so slightly short.
Oh yes, in the right place at the right time.
Well, Hewitt's not
30-14.
getting the ball deep enough, and as a consequence he's being outmaneuvered in the vast majority of these rallies.
Here he is again with a chance to break.
Game, Federer.
Well, there is the break. And the pressure is just too great at the moment.
Federer leads 4 games to 3.
Hewitt holding on as well as he can, but in the end, Federer's greater versatility prevailing. 4-3 with the break. Well, a perfect afternoon for tennis. Early afternoon here in California, about 1:45 in fact in the afternoon. An early start and a good crowd.
Sit down quickly, please. Back of the court. Thank you.
So he's leading now by a set and a break. Just checking the position of the sun. 4-3.
15 love. Love.
Well done.
Well, it's an excellent return. It's not particularly easy to execute. The inside-out backhand return. Doubles players use it all the time from that side of the court, but in singles, it's not often seen.
40-15.
Unobtrusively good serve, heavy, deep, forcing the error. Doesn't have to be an ace.
Game, Federer.
But that one was number 4 for the day.
Federer leads 5 games to 3. New balls, please.
Well, we've always said he's a good front runner. He's a confidence player. And I think now in trouble.
Well, there's no doubt about that, and I can't see anything tactically that Hewitt can do differently, any strengths that he possesses that can hurt Federer, unless world number 1 starts to play poorly, loses concentration, and starts to make an awful lot of unforced errors.
Doesn't do that often on finals day, does he?
Didn't say that again.
We've changed the tennis balls. Federer's changed his racket. 3-5.
15 love. Love. Love.
Yes, right on there. That's better. Lovely ace. So he's now served 4.
Game, Hewitt.
Well, one of Hewitt's best service games when it was most needed.
Federer leads 5 games to 4.
But he'll have to break if he's going to stay in the set. It's 5-4 Federer. sitting there calmly, contemplating what lies ahead. Mirka looking as relaxed as she could be.
It's not a very stressful camp, is it, really? When you've had so much success over the last 18 months, you can just sit back, relax, and let events unfold before you. And then go and enjoy the champagne dinner afterwards.
Very true. Yes, well, this could make it 2 sets to love, we'll see.
15 love.
Yes, well, that's what he was thinking about, sitting there quietly at fifth ace. No, excuse me, sixth.
It's just keeping you on your toes, too.
Love.
Well, I suppose it was always likely that Federer would find his best form when he wanted it. 3 set points. Yes, there you are.
Second set, Federer.
The perfect service game. And Mirka seen it all before.
By 6 games to 4.
Fans
Leads by 2
shake
sets
their
to
flags. And it's 2 sets to love after 67 minutes. And another look at that amazing point in game 3. It was break point, remember, against Hewitt, and they produced this magic. That was the end of it. It brought Hewitt to his knees and Federer resting on his knees and able to enjoy it all. Jason, have you seen a better point?
It was absolutely fantastic. I remember there was one point, I think it was Agassi and Sampras in the US Open final a number of years ago, which Sampras went on to win. Some tremendous hitting from the back of the court. But for me, I like this one because they were going up and down the court as well as side to side. It wasn't all about power. There was a couple of lobs in there. There was a couple of drop shots. Nice little angle. And it couldn't have been better. And it really got the crowd behind Hewitt, gave him a boost, managed to hold serve, but it didn't do him any good because Federer was able to find the clutches he's been able to do so often in the last 18 months.
And it ended on a winner, which is, of course, not always the case in those lovely long rallies. So here's the start of set number 3.
$15 love. $15 all. $15-30.
Oh, what a pity.
15-40.
Well, this is disastrous as far as Hewitt's concerned. Simply cannot afford to go a breakdown early in this third set. It's a mountain to climb as it is.
Game, Federer.
Yes, it's just not happening for Hewitt today, I'm afraid.
First game, third set.
And you can blame Federer for most of it, but there is also that question of the scheduling and the fact that he was out late here on this court last night without as much rest as Federer and feeling a little jaded. He still looks it, doesn't he?
Well, there's no doubt about it. I think he hasn't moved as well throughout the match as I've seen him do earlier in the week, and made too many unforced errors, but just hasn't kept a good enough length. Federer's been able to dictate the vast majority of the rallies, and Hewitt hasn't been as aggressive on the return of Federer's second serve as he normally is, and that's all led to Federer having a rather easy passage so far.
Love 15.
Yes. Arms are too long to be able to pass it that easily. And that would have got past quite a few men, but not Federer.
Fifteen, 30. Fifteen, 40.
But he's made 3 errors, 2 backhands wide in that forehand into the net. Hewitt must take heart here. The great man's confidence, or rather concentration, seems to have slipped a little.
30, 40.
On the other hand,
That's a good response, but I think you're absolutely right. The fact that he's 2 sets up and a break-up, sometimes you can break serve too early in a set and you can get a little bit lax in terms of your concentration.
Cheers.
yes, well, we all know how he feels. Those chances are so few. Has it
Advantage, Federer.
Well, that backhand cross-court is phenomenal now, but again, I think you'll see here Hewitt not quite moving as well as he would normally do. But off balance and not getting down to the ball. It's unusual.
Cheers.
Well, he won't lie down. He'll just go away. This man, of all today's players, he is probably the most tenacious. Many qualities that Kanyas has.
Advantage, Hewitt.
No question at all. The concentration has slipped. That's his second double fault only, and it's given Hewitt hope once more for a break. Third chance in this game.
Cheers.
Wouldn't you know? First ball in.
Hasn't returned serve well at all today by his lofty standards, Hewitt. Has been as aggressive as he would have liked, I think, off the second serve, and hasn't made enough off the first.
Advantage, Hewitt.
There was our colleague Josh Eagle trying to tell me that Hewitt was the best returner in the business probably ever. Well, that's a bit optimistic. But he's got another chance.
That's the perfect description, because Federer here was keeping supreme length early on in the rally, and then just took a bit of pace off that approach shot to give him a little bit of extra time to get into the net. He correctly anticipated the fact that Hewitt would try and pass him cross-court, and then just opened the angle of the racket face in order to get the necessary slice and angle on the volley.
Advantage, Federer. Game, Federer.
Well, I think that probably seals Hewitt's fate.
Federer leads 2 games to none.
Instead of breaking back at once, as he had the opportunity to do 4 times, he's 2-love down now, and I don't fancy his chances.
Well, he has so many options.
Lovely team.
He looks to pass Federer. He can go down the line, he can go cross-court, and he can also throw up the lob. Lovely last second movement there.
Love 30.
Well, the steamroller is about to flatten Hewitt here again.
Love 40.
Well, the fight that you normally expect to see has been knocked out of him, I think, here. Partly fatigue, partly the hopeless cause against the man who's beaten him so often. And that mental hurdle we spoke about is still in front of him.
15-14. $30-14. Cheers.
That's a much better play from Hewitt. Something that he will have wanted to do much more, I think, coming into the match. Use that slice serve out wide in order to open up the court and then go back behind his opponent.
Cheers.
He was right to go for it, though. Absolutely. It was a winner had he made it. Difficult for a coach in these circumstances. See his men being dismantled, really.
Advantage, Hewitt.
I think you're right, but I think also Hewitt said towards the end of last year, losing to Federer really is something that you can't get too down about because he's so good.
Cheers.
But it's been those types of shots really that have harmed his cause more than any other, when he's had an opportunity to put a bit of pressure on Federer. He's had the chance to earn a cheap point. He hasn't taken it.
Advantage, Hewitt.
Right in the corner, that landed.
Well, you have to keep good length against Federer, and you have to hit very accurately from the back of the court. That's exactly what Hewitt was able to do there. And for once, Federer had no reply.
Game, Hewitt.
Oh, well, that is most encouraging. Didn't look too good at love 40.
Federer leads 2 games to 1.
He is still just about in this match. Federer with a break, 2-1, 13. Well, the Wizard of Gauze, Bill Norris, is there, ministering to
Time.
Hewitt. We think it might be some toe discomfort. He was pushing the top of his toe in his right foot, suggesting there's rubbing there, but they didn't take his shoe off. Whether or not he'll have treatment later, I don't know, but he's obviously suffering something.
He's certainly not moving as well as he normally does. Of course, it doesn't help when you find yourself 2 sets down and a breakdown. That doesn't help the mobility around the court at all.
2-1.
$15 love.
So Agassi-like with the ability to half volley balls close to the baseline if you have to.
15 all.
The difference between Agassi and Federer in terms of those half volleys is the fact that Federer hits so much more topspin on the ball than Agassi does. So it's all the more difficult to time the ball. That's why it's so phenomenal that Federer is able to do it over and over again.
30-15.
Well, we've just had news from Bill Norris that yesterday Hewitt stubbed his left big toe, and today he's done the same to his right toe. And if curious enough, that's what put Agassi out of this tournament. His left toe swelled up overnight, and what one has to say is that the court surface is very grippy and cruel on the body. The left one strapped, you can probably see a bit of thickening there around the ankle area. Out, says TMO.
Game, Federer.
Well, unlucky there for Hewitt with that call.
Federer leads 3-1.
Went against him, but you've got to take the rubs of the green, and I don't think that has really going to have any outcome on the match.
Well, it was interesting, wasn't it?
Effect on the outcome.
It was interesting that Hewitt didn't even bother to complain to the umpire. I think that gives you a good indication as to his state of mind at the moment and how he feels about his chances are getting the better of Federer today.
Lovely change.
Well, if your feet are hurting, that's the very worst thing for a man who, to use Agassi's phrase of Chang, runs for a living.
Loud 30.
Love 40 last time, remember, on his serve, and came through it. Only so many times you can do that in a match, surely.
Loud 40.
Again. Another double fault, is sixth. Yes, it's very frustrating for him.
30-14.
3 break points in the last game. 2 have gone in this game.
Well, again, it's got to be down to concentration.
Yes.
3 poor points there. He's got to be careful because insurance of a double break would be welcome, I'm sure, by both Federer and his camp.
Advantage, Federer.
Well, this is exactly what happened in that long third game. It was love 40 then. He had another ad, failed to break. Let's see if he'll do it this time. I thought he hit it with enough spin to get it in. Corner.
It was another good rally. Both players working hard from the back of the court. Hewitt's length was better, and then he was able to outmaneuver Federer with that short angle cross court, and the Swiss just not putting enough topspin on the ball.
Advantage, Federer.
3 double faults in this game.
Well, he knows he needs to go for the second serve. Federer's been utterly dominant, and he's been able to step up the court and take advantage of that weaker delivery.
Federer clenches his fist. At last he gets the second break that he wanted. Failed at the last Hewitt service game and nearly failed again there, but he made it in the
4
end.
games to 1.
And that, I think, will lock up the match. 4-1. Well, it looks as if another shield will be added now to the Federer collection. He's 2 sets to love and 4-1, and barring a miracle, or, God forbid, an accident, he must surely now be on the way to get another title this year. It would be his 4th. Already successful at Doha, Rotterdam, Dubai, but they were not with the sort of field we've had here.
50 love.
Just a reminder that the only man who's beaten him this year, he had a match point against him, was Marat Safin, who imploded here against Taylor Dent.
30 love.
And I think once Safin had gone, Federer probably felt that the chance was really strong for him to win this title, retain this title. Safin is the one man who can hit him off the court.
Well, there's no doubt about it.
13.
I think the Russian can serve as well as Federer, if not better. He can hit the ball from the back of the court harder, off both the forehand and the backhand. I think he's the only player that Federer would be afraid of.
Well done.
Federer has such a good record against Hewitt
30 love.
and Roddick, particularly in the last 18 months or so, that I don't think he fears them in the slightest. But there's no doubt that Safin has the ability to beat anybody when he's playing well.
30-40.
Now then, a moment of frailty, and there aren't many of those in a Federer match, but at least it's given this man just a little bit of hope to get one of the breaks back.
Yeah.
And he's got one of them back. Full marks for tenacity.
Federer leads 4 games to 2.
But let's face it, it was Federer's own errors, those last 2 points, that cost him.
And that's why it was so important for the world #1 to get the insurance of that double break.
Change of racket imminent. Getting it out of the bag there. Next game will change.
Love.
Just looking at the surface there, I wonder if the ball shot off the line. No, it didn't look behind the line. I don't know what happened.
Well, he just felt it was a poor call.
We've had a few, well, questionable calls this week.
Well, it's an interesting point. I think that would be my only criticism of the event. In every other aspect, I think it's first class. But they use volunteers to call the lines, and I think they would be slightly better advised to get the professionals in.
So difficult for Hewitt. He was all over that rally. I mean, it was his to command.
15-30. And he had to really cover the cross-court shot because Federer's beaten him with it time and time again. So you can see him edging over towards the center of the court, and Federer there choosing the perfect moment to throw in a little bit of variation.
Left for service.
Big point this for Hewitt. He's going to make his fight back. And I would think we'd have to say that Federer is not producing a vintage performance today at all. It's a bit patchy, brilliant at times, but not consistent. And it would be very depressing for Hewitt if, with Federer in this mood, he were to lose again.
40-30.
And who knows, he might still win this match. It's not over.
Where there's life, there's hope. You would hope also that Federer would regain his concentration towards the end of this third set.
Yeah, Hewitt.
Well done, Hewitt. He's clawing his way back as he so often does in these matches. And remember the Davis Cup match he played when he was 2 sets to love down and won. It's 4-3 to Federer. Well, he's certainly in the shadow there of the parasol held by the ball kids, but he's also in the shadow of Federer and has been the last 6 times they've played. And the Davis Cup match that he turned around after being hopelessly out of it, 2 sets to love down in Australia, was the last time he's beaten Federer. And since then, in the following 4 encounters, Federer managed to take a 6-love set off him every time, and in fact 2 love sets in that extraordinary US Open final last year. So here are the new balls. 4-3.
Lovely change.
You can do it. Somebody's shouting.
Yeah. 15 all.
I think he varies the direction of his serves first and second as well as anybody I've seen.
That's what makes it so effective. Never going to break any speed records.
30-15.
The players just can't get a lead on it. It's a relatively low toss, lovely smooth motion.
10th ace.
Left.
Well, a big point for both here, particularly for Hewitt. If he can just get another chance to break, he might yet turn this set round, and who knows, even the match.
And
he has earned the chance. Well done. And the crowd certainly want to see another set. Now we'll see what the great man does facing a break point. Usually the first serve goes in.
Cheers.
Well, it's no longer a surprise. One has seen it so often. Not always an ace, that was the 11th, but usually a winning serve in those circumstances.
Advantage Federer.
It's almost as if he needed a dangerous situation to bring out the best in his game.
Game Federer.
Smile of dismay from Hewitt with that error, allowing Federer to hold.
Federer leads 5 games to 3.
Well, so near and yet so far, Hewitt. Tantalizing me with a break point, but no question about the authority of Federer being stamped on the game thereafter. The 2 aces.
Let's versus. 30 love.
Nice positive tactics here from Hewitt. Hasn't been able to employ those anywhere near as much of the time as he would have liked. Little shades of what happened in the second set when Federer really took his foot off the gas in the penultimate game, with one eye on his next service game.
Game, Hewitt.
Well, the little Aussie, plucky as ever, clinging on for dear life.
Federer leads 5 games to 4.
But it will be Federer serving for the match.
Time.
Lounging there in his chair prior to the explosive effort needed here to close out the match. And you wouldn't bet against him. Well, I wouldn't.
It would take a very big gambler to do just that.
Thank you.
Serving to retain this title.
Love. Love.
So the ace count now rises to 13. Unlucky that for Hewitt.
Love.
Another of those high kicking serves which he's delivered so well today. Hewitt unable to control it. And as the applause suggests, the champion with 3 championship points.
Game, set and match. Roger Federer. Federer wins by 3 sets to love. 6-2, 6-4, 6-4.
And rather appropriate, I think, that an ace, his 14th of the day, should close it out. Because the power of Federer in that department starts most of the impetus that he creates in his service games. It was a good performance, not a great one, but a good performance. 6-2, 6-4, 6-4, an hour and 53 minutes. And 17 successive finals now have fallen to him. What a player.
It was amazing how rapidly Federer had taken over tennis. Just 2 years earlier at Indian Wells, he lost in the second round, looking more like a listless talent than a future champion. But now he was a colossus, dominating the sport with brilliant shot-making, first-rate sportsmanship, and as that one epic rally showed, his own special brand of genius. Indian Wells was one of 11 titles Federer would win in 2005. Hewitt would continue to persevere, always looking for ways to beef up his game and regain the #1 ranking he had held in 2001 and 2002. But alas, over the next 5 years, he'd never make it again to the finals of a Masters-level event. For Tennis Channel Classics, I'm Brian Weber.